Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Speaker Hall. I am particularly excited about this next panel. I think this topic is one that gets sort of brushed under the rug and left out of industry discussions far too often. So this panel is going to cover the soft side of the industry. And what I mean when I say the soft side is the human side of the industry. As we know, there's been many changes over the last 18 months in this industry in terms of how things work on the economic side. But there's also been many changes when it comes to things how things work on the human side. So we have an absolutely fabulous, wonderful group of HR professionals here to discuss exactly how things have changed and how things will continue to change in the future. I'm going to be moderating this panel. If you haven't met me, my name is Rachel McIntosh, and I'm a podcast host at Finance Magnates. And also with me, in no particular order, I have Elena Krutova, the Global Head of People Development and People Care at Exness. Donna Stephenson, the Founder and Head of Business Development of the Institutional and Partners Department at Emerald Zebra and Next Markets AG. Ross Pitman, the Senior Business Manager at GRS Recruitment. Eleana Agrotou, the Board Member and HR Professional at Cyprus HR Management Association and Hellenic Bank. And finally, Anna Loizou, Head of People and Assurance Partner at PwC Cyprus. Let's welcome them all to the stage. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everyone. So please grab your microphones. And just to start off, I've just introduced all of you, but I'm sure our audience would like to know a little bit more about who you are. So let's just go and each one of you tell us a little bit about yourselves, starting at the very end and moving back down this way. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eleana. Agrotou. I'm representing the Cyprus HR Management Association. I'm currently at Hellenic Bank at the HR division and a PhD candidate at the University of Cyprus. My areas of expertise are recruitment and selection, talent management, development and assessment centers, and HR metrics. I'm here to share insights about how recruitment processes are changing due to the pandemic. Thank you very much.
Hello, Donna Stephenson. I'm the founder of Emerald Zebra. Emerald Zebra is a fintech niche recruitment business. I'm also here on behalf of my new challenge, Next Markets, who, by the way, are sponsoring tonight's night party. So I hope to see you all there. Nice plug. They're in the audience supporting. Thank you. My background is I'm British. I've been living in Cyprus for the last 18 years. I previously founded a recruiting company, GRS, some years ago, had a good exit in 2018. And I'm here on the panel to share experiences today, knowledge, and very delighted to be here.
Hello, I'm Anna Loizou. I'm a partner at PwC Cyprus. By background, I'm a financial services audit partner. But in the past couple of years, I have been heading the people strategy of PwC Cyprus, just in time, just before the pandemic. So it has been quite a challenging role since. So really glad to be sharing experiences on that front with you today. Thank you.
My name is Elena. I'm originally from Russia, and I'm living in Cyprus for 4 years, and all 4 years I'm working with Exness and drive people development agenda. We don't like saying human resources because people are not resources any longer. They are normal people with their feelings, with their emotions, with their plans and ambitions. And I'm driving the agenda to making the company the greatest place of work for all the candidates in Cyprus or globally. I have a husband, and I live here with my lively daughter. And also I do a lot in terms of my own education and change management and leadership. And leadership is sort of the passion which I instill in Exness as well.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ross Pitman, the Senior Business Manager for GRS. We are the leading and largest recruitment, HR, and payroll consultancy group, both in Cyprus and in Malta. Myself and my team, we work very closely with our clients in identifying, interviewing, and placing highly successful candidates, both at entry level and also at senior management level. I have to say, actually, the nicest thing about being here today is actually looking out across the floor and seeing how many people we've actually placed within this industry and actually listening to the stories of success and development. That is probably one of my proudest achievements. And I have to say, I'm sure like all of you, after almost 2 years apart, it is wonderful to be back in the room together.
Absolutely. Thank you all. So my first question is for all of you. We're going to do kind of a little lightning round here. So a lot has been happening, obviously, in the last 2 years. The advent of remote work, a general shift in working culture throughout 2020 and 2021, and now heading into 2022. So what I'd like to hear from all of you in around 2 minutes or less is what you think personally is the most significant change in terms of attracting talent over the past 20-ish months. So we'll do the same thing. I'm gonna put you back on the spot. We're gonna go down the line. Tell us what you think.
Well, pandemic transformed the way we work, and the first priority was to respond to the crisis. And the emphasis was on health and safety of the employees, and at the same time, the virtualization of work. Last year was tough on recruiters. The pandemic and its consequences devastated some talent teams and heaped new demands on others. Pandemic was proved to be a historic change agent to the way that recruitment is performed, and more organizations adopted virtual recruiting technologies. They shift to talent attraction on remote workers, consider internal talent pools, and they focus on diversity and inclusion. So as the hybrid workforce of in-house and remote employees is in place, the hybrid recruitment practices of having virtual recruitment and interviewing process, and at the same time assessment in-house organizations are here to stay.
Thank you, Eleana. And Donna.
So a lot has been written about remote working, lots of thought leadership pieces, thousands in fact. So I'll probably not bore you with all the ins and outs, positives, negatives of remote working, but it remains to be seen whether we're going to see a big rush of people returning to the office. Certainly with remote working, you have the likes of PwC that have made announcements that people can work anywhere in the world. They don't have to be in the office necessarily. But I think the pandemic has really influenced how we recruit, how we attract. Almost the borders, the boundaries that we've previously perceived have pretty much vanished. Our reach now is greater than it used to be. We can also hire more people because we're not reliant or restricted on office space. There are so many things that this pandemic actually brought, both negative and positive, and it will be really interesting to see, how we actually move forward and put into practice what we have learned, especially with regards to how we attract great talent, how we define great talent. There's such a challenge right now that if you're based in Cyprus, for example, but you're hiring in the Ukraine, what is the salary that you pay? Do you pay based on location? Do you pay based on region? Do you pay based on the grades within the company? So certainly it throws up a lot of challenges.
Absolutely. Anna.
I think I will start with the reference that Donna made to the recent PwC US announcement of giving the option to 40,000 people to work from anywhere in the US for their offices. I mean, it has been a journey over the past 20 months. I mean, overnight we sent all our workforce to work from home. We were very lucky because we had invested a lot in technology and everything was in the cloud. So that gave us the capacity to continue servicing our clients that way. And at the same time, being a recruiter of, one of the biggest graduate recruiters internationally, it was a big challenge to actually onboard all the new talent straight from university and actually be able to coach them and deliver in what was a busy season for us because everything erupted around March. So having to deliver on the audits during a period where everyone had to work remotely. And here in Cyprus, it was the first time that we were appointed to do the audit of Bank of Cyprus. So our first audit report of Bank of Cyprus, we had to deliver it by working virtually and away from the client. So that showed, how people have adapted and how people have felt over these 20 months and how we've changed our talent acquisition approach. I mean, the psychology of people, we've seen how it has evolved over these 20 months. Initially, it was all about, the uncertainty, all the aspects around well-being, the elements of, the blurring of work-life balance, people having to deal with challenges like, working mothers, having the schools closed, no support system whatsoever, and a lot of issues around well-being. So in an employer where there is a lot of pressure to deliver and also at the same time having to deal with all this uncertainty and for the first time working remotely and having to coach, around 50% of our people were like 2 years into the company. So that presented a lot of challenges. So everyone had to step up their game in how you actually coach and deliver during this time. But as time progressed, we've seen that, people are actually more anxious about, how we are delivering on our purpose, what type of work they're doing. They're starting to rethink, what am I doing? Is this what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? Do I want to be working from this place or from somewhere else? So questioning all the decisions that they've made over their life, having spent, so much time away from the office. And before the pandemic hit, we were one of the first employers on the island to have what we called everyday flexibility. So we introduced the flexibility, giving people the option to work remotely whenever they wanted, wherever they wanted. And actually, just before the pandemic, we were running a campaign trying to promote flexibility. And we were trying to get leaders to showcase them that it's okay to work from home, to work from a cafe, etc. And then pandemic hit. And now what we are seeing is that, initially there was a lot of rush of people wanting to go back to the office, craving that personal, touch and seeing their colleagues and etc. But, as time goes by, we see people questioning whether, every day in the office makes sense. And on any given day, we see only about 50% of our people opting to work from the office. So that poses a lot of questions around, attracting people into our firm. I mean, what is it that people want? So, and flexibility is a big part of it. And, discussing around our HR strategy across the network, we started from a position saying that, we'll give the option to people to work from the office, but then, or from home, and give them the option. But then, for example, the UK started saying, okay, we give you we expect you 2 to 3 days to actually be working from the office. And this was done back in March, and now 6 months down the line, we are rethinking our positioning in the UK, and we're saying that, people don't see why they should be in the office 2 to 3 days a week. So in terms of attracting people into PwC and also, keeping happy the people that we have, this empowered flexibility and giving the option to people to actually work from anywhere they want without any restrictions as to when you are in the office or not is no longer there. Hence, the US announcing that, you can work from anywhere and no need to come to the office.
Right, so flexibility is very important. And I can really relate to these existential questions that we asked ourselves somewhere during the pandemic, absolutely. Elena, so what about you? What has changed for you? What have you observed in terms of how talent is attracted?
Supporting what just was said, the question how our employees feel became one of the most important as well. Because it's not only about your performance, which is of course the first important topic, but also if the employees feel connected to the company. The question is how to onboard newcomers when they never saw their manager in face, they never visited your office probably. All our days we were talking to the screens, not to the real people. Therefore it became really important to find some tools how to engage people, how to keep them healthy, motivated, mentally healthy, and how to instill this sense of like feeling the ownership of the company performance. Unfortunately, many companies still are not clear how to manage this. And I believe that next at least few months or years, we will find out how to engage remote employees and find the way to make them feel happy, proud, enthusiastic about their jobs, even if they never saw their managers or their teams in real life.
Yeah. Ross, how about you?
I think one of the greatest trends that I've probably seen in the last, well, almost 2 years is almost a refined change in the hiring process itself. I think previously we focused very much on multiple rounds of interviews in order to understand and almost risk balance if this was the right candidate for our organization. But now what we're actually looking for in our employees is emotional intelligence, adaptability, those that have the skills to not fall at the first challenge, but instead not see it as a challenge, but an opportunity. So many people talk about this pandemic as a crisis, but perhaps it wasn't a crisis. It was an opportunity for change, an opportunity to evolve and do things different. If you speak to your teams, you will find that many of them are craving that work from home. Now, that's very difficult for a manager within a business, but in fact, we want to see their staff at their desk every day of the week. We want to see what they're doing. We want those exchanges of ideas across the water cooler. We want to sit down at lunch. We want to have that snap meeting and not have to book it on Zoom or on Skype. But at the end of the day, we have to listen to what our people want. We have to invest in our people. This is why at GRS personally, we encourage all our clients as part of the onboarding process to think about skills assessments. We're very fortunate. We're actually the only recruitment consultancy based in Cyprus and Malta who are able to offer Hogan assessments. This gives us the opportunity to not evaluate how good someone can do their job based on their CV. Someone's experience is understood. But this allows us to see, how does this person relate to others? How will this person cope under stress? And how will this person become a leader in our business? Because that's what we're looking for, the leaders for tomorrow. This has been a challenging time, but it wasn't a crisis. It was an opportunity.
I love it. I'm hearing so much about psychology, wellness, emotional intelligence, and these are new things that all of you are thinking about and considering when attracting and hiring new people. But Elena, I wanna ask you, and please, anyone, feel free to jump in at any time. But just listening to what we've been talking about so far, what have you noticed, in terms of commonalities? Are trends forming, or do you think that this industry is still, a very diverse place with very diverse needs?
I see a number of commonalities among many industries. Some industries were quite well prepared to this transition, and this is innovative industries, fintech industries as well. And in many of these companies, the discussions about flexible work, about some days spending at home when employees can spend at home with their families, were already discussed. And therefore, for us, probably it became a bit easier to transform to the new reality. But for some industries, of course, this is still challenge. In banks, probably, when all the job was done on the desk. And for many employees in these traditional industries, the companies should find the way to transform. And this is, as I see, the biggest challenge for them, how to become more innovative, how to provide more opportunities, again, maintaining the good culture, the good mental health of the employees, the proper employee experience, and all these elements which are quite popular right now.
Anyone have anything to add to that? Well, Donna, I'd like to ask you also, so sort of amidst all of these challenges and opportunities, as Ross was saying, what has really manifested itself for you during this period in terms of positive things? And from your perspective, what are the most crucial choices and actions that company has made to meet these opportunities, challenges, and really turn them into opportunities?
I think, there is a global talent shortage. I mean, that, we can all agree. And so the attraction of talent is fiercely competitive. And I have seen a switch in employers focusing more on their employment branding, their culture, identifying their values, their mission, but not only for the employees, and I think especially Generation Z coming through into the workforce. It's key, you know, they want to be working for a purpose. They want to work for an organization that is aligned with, you know, their values, something meaningful. Out goes perhaps, you know, the football, snooker tables, whatever, and, you know, pizza Fridays
Snacks
and things
everywhere,
like that.
yeah.
I mean, they were, you know, great for a while, but yeah, I think this whole remote working scenario and the availability or the boundaries now have expanded so much that there is greater choice for an employee. There's also equally greater choice for the employer. So moving on from values and having common values and you know, working towards a common mission, I think in addition to that, there are certainly companies need to focus on leadership skills. So it's very important to any new recruits, who are they going to be reporting to? Is that person a strong leader? Do they share the same values? Are they able to manage the strengths of that employee? Are they reputable people, good relationship? So I think that leadership going forward is something that businesses should focus on, having or identifying what is the right leader for their organization. So that leader is going to be aligned with the corporate values, mission, etc., whatever those are identified to be. And then being able to drive that team towards the goals or the common goals of the company. So I think that leadership is really key for driving change and being competitive as an employer for attracting the best talent.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. We'll be taking questions at the end if that was directed up here. Thank you. So save your questions for the end, everybody. Thank you very much. Okay. Anyway, so in terms of what Donna was saying about finding the right leader for the company, finding people who want to match with a company's values and really presenting those values at the forefront of the hiring process. I'm curious for all of you, and please feel free anyone to answer this question. What have those values been? Like, when in terms of finding someone who you're going to hire, like, and you ask, like, why is it that you want to work at this company in terms of the company's goals, mission, value? What are those values most commonly that people sort of resonate with?
If I may.
Yeah, please.
I mean, values are critical to a company. And I mean, for us, we've established our values some time ago after reaching out to other people and, what represented them. And every year we get the sentiment of our people around the values, and this is what we expect people to live by. And one of the biggest one is care, and they're imagining the possible, making the difference. So these aspects came to life during the pandemic, and these are the things that people actually held us accountable to as employers during the crisis. And this is what we're looking for when we are actually recruiting. Because we understand that, if somebody is not aligned to the values of the company, you will not make them aligned in the future. Yeah. But if they're missing some skills, we'll invest and give them the skills that they need. So hence, we do a lot of upskilling exercise in order to, bring them up to date with digital skills and also leadership skills in order to be able to cope with constant changes, because we appreciate that the environment will keep changing. So they need to keep reskilling and upskilling people. Yeah. But in terms of values, unless somebody is aligned to your values and to your purpose, you will not be able to change that so easily. So that's quite key.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I would probably say that at this moment in time, the greatest value that both clients and candidates should share is the value of trust. Because at the end of the day, as you rightly spoke about, there are mothers out there who've had childcare issues with their schools closing. They have to trust in your organisation that when they're joining you, that you'll still be there for them in 6 months' time. Equally so, when we speak about hybrid working and people working from home, we have to trust in our staff members that if we provide them with the technology, if we provide them with the support, and we share that trust value, then at the end of the day, our business succeeds. We have an engaged team member. Overall, we all succeed.
I like this idea of having simple values because trust is simple, although it's complex by its nature, but everyone can understand what trust is. At the same time, many companies have such words as transparency and integrity, which are less understandable in many languages. For example, in our company, in Exness, we have two quite simple values. The one of them is honesty, and that means that if you don't do your job properly, tell about this and ask for help. If you have something to share with your manager, don't hide it. Tell it openly. And the second one is about scientific approach, because everyone believes that management is easy, PR it's easy, marketing it's easy, HR is easy, of course. But we employ scientific approach. Every decision should be verified. And these two values, they look quite clear to the majority of the employees. You should be honest, and you should say truth all the time, and you should use some scientific background for all of your decisions, not your intuition or suggestions.
I love that idea of taking a scientific approach to honesty and trust. Really, like you said, they are simple concepts, but, what does it really mean when you put your feet on the ground? What does it mean to trust your employee? What does it mean to trust your employer? What does it mean to really be honest in these situations? And it really depends, I guess, on the context. Eleana, I see you nodding along. In terms of values and what you've seen really emerging throughout this time, what has been working for your company?
As the other panelists mentioned, for our organization and in general, trust and integrity, I feel that are the most important factors in regards to values. The trust for me is the number one because you have to trust everyone in your organization, and the employees, they have to trust you as an employer. And if you don't manage to build this relationship of trust, most probably teams, they will fail.
Yeah, the stakes are high. So Ross, my next question is for you, at least initially. So what kinds of qualities are companies prioritizing in potential employees when it comes to hiring? I know we've touched on this a bit in terms of emotional intelligence and that sort of thing, but can you go a little bit more into the specifics?
Well, yeah, I mean, this has been the game changer over the last, almost 2 years. Before we focused very much on someone's hard skills, as I mentioned previously, but now we really want to understand, do we have an agile workforce? Do we have a workforce of problem solvers? Do we have those that will almost march out to the battle beside us? So how do we do this? Well, like you say, at the end of the day, the best investment you can actually make is in skill testing your candidates. You will not only find that you get to know your candidate a great deal better, or your future employee rather, but at the same time, your future employee also values that you are interested in them. You're not asking them about the greatest achievement that they've had in their work career. You're not asking where you want to see them in the next 5 years. You're getting to find out about the actual person itself. Because you have to remember that nowadays, and I think my panelists will probably agree with me, talent acquisition is one part of the process. But the retention of the talent at the moment in this marketplace is key. It is the best investment you will make to engage your staff members, to listen to your staff members. And with that in mind, I think it is important to think about communication, to think about cohesion. Are we all following the same path? But also, most importantly, and one of the biggest challenges we've experienced in the last 2 years is to make business decisions with compassion. Because quite often we do look at the facts and figures, but actually we have to remember that we're hiring people. We're not hiring machines. How many of us over the last almost 2 years have sat in that Zoom meeting and what's happened? Your kids have run in the background, yeah? The dog has jumped into your lap, yeah? This has happened to all of us. This has helped us to remember that actually the people that we're hiring are not figures, they're not KPIs, but we're hiring real people. And by investing in those people, I promise you, it's the best investment that you will make, because engaged employees are those who provide the most solid foundation for your business. So what are we looking for now? We're looking for agility. We're looking for team spirit. We're looking for communicators. We're looking for problem solvers. We're looking for those with trust and those with integrity. Because when you build solid foundations to your business, at the end of the day, your business achieves success. Myself, I remember finishing on the Friday before COVID, as many of us did, and sitting in my home office on the Monday morning. And I remember a call with the HR director of one of the world's largest Forex companies who have an operation here in Cyprus. Now, the call that we had started out with, Ross, we need to put everything on hold. It's a recruitment freeze. And I said, but why? Has your business stopped? She said, no, but how can we go forward? And I always tell my clients, I am not outside of the circle. I don't sit as an outsourced solution. Myself and my team, we are part of the circle, part of your organization. We are linked to your HR team. We're linked in the success. So after almost 2 hours, when we discussed her daughters being in England and lockdown, myself and my own personal family challenges, we came to a solution. We found how we could basically build people, bring them on board, skill assessment, get to know them, get them engaged. We sent them care packages on a Friday afternoon just to make them know that we had thought about them. A bottle of wine, a little bit of hand soap. But it made them feel that they were part of our team. We were all marching towards the same mission. That business has trebled in value in the last 18 months. And we did that by a 2-hour call where we guided each other towards the path to success. So remember, get to know your people. It's the best investment you'll make.
Yeah, I saw a lot of you nodding along throughout that. And I love that Ross, you brought up the word compassion and like the example with these small acts of kindness that sort of go outside of the normal scope of what happens in a business on any given day. You know, that you would take the time to do something a little bit extra for employees, and that can make a huge difference, you know, not only for their well-being, but also for the company's performance, you know, that these two things are so intrinsically linked to one another. I'm curious, do any others of you have, you know, examples or stories or thoughts on this idea of, you know, how to structure these acts of kindness within an organization that both improve employee well-being and also, you know, lead eventually to better performance from the company?
I think the acts of kindness, but also the general, you know, looking after your people and, you know, the whole well-being agenda as it has become increasingly important, especially around mental health issues, which has increased quite a lot. I think if we didn't see the link before the pandemic, it's pretty much very clear now. Because every day I have somebody in the firm, you know, having psychological issues, cannot turn up to work, cannot take their exams, have to take time off. So, I mean, the problem is real if people are not looked after. So I think the well-being and the support and the empathy and the acts of kindness and being there for each other are critical, and the link between, you know, the performance of the companies and the actual well-being of people could be more transparent in this day and age.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I can give example how we did that, because a few weeks ago we had an online party for our office in Asia. Many Asian countries, they are locked down for almost 1.5 years. So employees, they don't have any opportunity to go out and like to have some connection with the teams. So we prepared the online corporate party, which by the way was even more expensive than like off-site party.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So we prepared that in a quite nice way, that every employee got their boxes with wine, with some decoration stuff, with some nice stuff. We arranged the photo shooting, online photo shooting contest again, because there were no options to do it offline. We invited a guest speaker who was a complete surprise for everyone, and we announced this guest speaker like 1 minute before he joined us. And this work was Nick Vucic, who was very well accepted. And the team was extremely happy, at least with the attention which the company is giving to them. Because many companies doing online events, they think, okay, probably this is not so nice, people cannot touch each other, they cannot like connect to each other. But this is the attention. If you do this like with all your heart, if you do it with some probably tiny gifts, or probably even with a lower budget, all is possible, like to gain the engagement from your employees, and they will value you even more because they all understand that we are in not a good circumstances right now, especially in Asian countries.
Absolutely. Eleana, this next question is for you. I'd like to ask you how, in your opinion, the advent of remote work has affected collaboration. We've talked a lot about hiring, retaining people. How has it actually affected the way that people work together when they are at work?
Well, pandemic forced a large portion of global workforce to work remotely. Some technology companies like Twitter or Facebook, they have already implemented permanent policies for remote working. And this is to realize that remote working and the form of remote teams, it's here to stay. Many studies have shown that many employees have making through this shift without losing productivity, efficiency, or even collaboration. However, some other studies have indicated that there are many people that are struggling with the remote working. In fact, remote working eliminates in-person communication. There are many tools, platforms, thanks to Zoom, Teams, and Skype that help us to continue these meetings, e-meetings with our colleagues and make all the, staff meetings through these platforms. However, while we are used to these technologies, we can see that many people feel frustrated, or they are distracted in their everyday work. They mentioned that they cannot concentrate at their homes and they have to deal with many other things at the same time. And there is like a conflict with our normal social interactions. These unplanned interactions that we had with our colleagues during working hours, now they are completely disappeared. And the teams will be successful if they are managed to build strong communication channels and elevate their strengths and find alternative ways of collaboration. There are many teams that they do after work drinks, but remotely everyone is at their place and they do the cheers from their home. Or they organize movie nights, but they are still in their house. There are a lot of changes in the organizations, and teams have to adapt to these changes in order to be successful and keep this team spirit alive. And of course, this remote work affect also the way we hire people. We see that not only the interviewing process, but also the onboarding process for many organizations is remotely, and it's very challenging both for job seekers and recruiters to find what they are looking for.
Absolutely. And I'd like to open that question up to the rest of you as well. In terms of structuring the way that employees work together, particularly not necessarily management, but colleagues who are working, peers on the same sort of level. How have you noticed things working well, and how have things maybe not worked so well as?
I think with the younger people, the Generation Z that joined us in the past couple of years. I mean, you could see because, they were born with an iPhone in their hands, they could easily, they used all the different platforms in order to communicate and keep in touch with each other. And they actually trained the rest of us to be using this platform. So, of course, people were very innovative in trying to find ways to communicate and collaborate, whether that's virtual coffees or cinema nights or escape rooms, etc. At the same time, nothing replaces the physical contact and, the ability to be able to sit with others in the same room. We found early on that, whereas usually we would carry an audit and would be at the premises of a client, the whole team sitting together, the younger people, being coached, kind of by absorption, because if one team member was asking the manager or something, then, another member would be listening to that conversation and learning from that. So that learning that was kind of happening haphazardly in the office or in the conference rooms with clients, you were losing out on that. So we came up with, virtual audit rooms. So it was an open, site for everyone that was working on a specific client to be able to have that interaction and that learning throughout the day. Was it ideal? It was not exactly the same thing as, being physically present. But, under the circumstances, it served its purpose. So obviously, a lot of, testing and experiments, what can work to actually make it through this time. We were lucky in Cyprus that we did get the chance to go back to the office. So I think a mixture of that, if it's not 100% remote like that, I think it serves its purpose quite well. So you have the flexibility to work from home and do some of these virtually, but when it comes to sitting down and brainstorming and connecting with each other and the sense of culture within the teams and the organization, I think there is no replacement rather than the human interaction. So I think the intended human interaction where it's not just a matter of doing the work, but if it's purposeful. For instance, we built an experience center in our Nicosia office. So we use that as a place where, okay, we can all work from home, but, let's devote, one Friday morning, we're all together brainstorming, and get that chance to be together and actually use the time together for what is most valuable for.
So you have to really be intentional to make these things happen that used to sort of happen organically in a physical setting.
I think I'd like to add as well that we're in new territory of the technology platforms that we're using. And someone said to me recently, how do you get the attention of a Generation Z for business? Because they're not answering WhatsApp. It's Instagram Messenger, the next TikTok. So, I think in the workplace, we're utilizing a lot of different channels. Me recently with Next Markets, it's Slack, it's WhatsApp staff groups, email, of course, intranet. So, various tools and various, new advancements in tools that are trying to actually bridge that gap, especially those that are powered by AI for, training and developing employees wherever they are in the world to try and give them that, training or on-demand knowledge that they require to do their jobs effectively. So I think that technology is certainly evolving at a very fast pace, due not only to COVID, but certainly advanced because of the pandemic.
Absolutely. So I have one last question for you all. And if there are any questions from the audience, I'd like you to think about it now while these guys answer this question, and then we'll take questions from you. So to sort of round out this discussion, if there's one thing that you really think is going to continue into the future in terms of the way that things are going, if you can put a little nice bow on all of these thoughts that we've shared today, what would that be? And this time, I won't put you on the spot, Eleana. I'm going to put you on the spot, Russ. So we'll just go down the line. Thank you.
I think probably my biggest takeaway in the last almost 2 years is that I felt more than ever that we've actually put the word human back into human resources, because now we're thinking about the individual. We are no longer providing a one-size-fits-all. We're no longer looking at someone simply with a list of intrinsic skills. Instead, like you say, we're looking at our team members for the intrinsic skills that they have for those areas of compassion, cohesion, communication. So I think what's most important is, as I mentioned before, really take the time to actually get to know the people working for you. because time is precious. But at the end of the day, it is the best investment that you'll make in your business.
Thank you, Ross.
From my side, I would say that leadership became even more important than previously, because if you think that if you observe people and they're working well, this is leadership, then no, it's not leadership, it's supervision. Leadership is when your people are working without you, and remote work proved that. If your team is able to work without you observing them, then you are in a good shape. So if we all can instill this leadership in our teams, in our companies, then nothing will scare us, even remote work.
Thank you.
I agree with both what you've mentioned. I think in terms of, the human-centric approach, I think is key. And actually our latest strategy that we've announced, we said that, we're human-led, tech-powered. So we're making sure we give the technology to our people, but, the people are at the center of it. Because at the end of the day, you need the people to give them the right tools, give them the right digital tools and the skill set, and they can actually deliver. And deliver on purposeful work, meaningful work, that they see the purpose of that, and they will hold us accountable as employers that you have a very important role to play in the society at large in terms of larger ESG agenda, so in terms of the climate, in terms of diversity and inclusion. So we need our people to be indeed leaders in all of these aspects to drive the firm. So the key aspect is that we should be developing people who are leaders, looking out for each other, human-centric, but empowered by all the technology to be able to deliver the best.
Thank you, Anna.
And from my side, I think there's 2 points to make here. The next generation that's coming through into the workforce, I think that it's really crucial that more employers engage in internships. So offering, those new starters, new talent into the workforce, the support, the guidance, albeit it's difficult to do within a remote working environment, and there are certain challenges there. And then the second point to make is on giving the support to leadership as well. So, leadership and those leaders having the support to do their job properly, whether that's, we're looking at, by Myers-Briggs, 16 different personality types. So, we're not all the same. We don't all, work to the same rules, regulations. So I think that, there needs to be focus on how we develop our leaders further, but not only how do we support them and support their mental health too, coupled with, what can we do to advance that next generation coming through, internships, apprenticeships, whatever we can do to get people into the workforce and give them that guidance and experience.
Thank you, Donna.
Well, it's of imperative importance to focus on human experience instead of employee experience, and grow individuals in personally and professionally, even in digital forms. Job seekers should focus on tech savviness skills, build very strong communication skills, focus on their agility and adaptability. Recruit the right talent in the right role, I feel is more vital than ever.
Thank you, Eleana. And now I'd like to open the floor to questions from the audience. The bravest person goes first. Oh, here he is. All right.
So, my question is, with the advent of remote work, some employees prefer to install some tracking software on their remote employees to monitor which applications they use, how much time they actually spend working. So what do you think of such practices? Are they beneficial, or is it more harm than good? Or maybe it's makes sense only for some kind of roles and so on?
I think it goes against trust for your people. So if you are advocating that you give people the flexibility and the empowered flexibility to actually work at their own pace and their own time and whenever they want. I think installing this software, at least, from our perspective as a professional service organization, we feel that, this is kind of, goes against, the trust that you're trying to bring out in people. So monitoring should be based on outcome. I'm conscious that, we are not there in terms of the practices that we've applied.
I think that deserves a round of applause too. Any more questions from the audience? Back over there in that corner? We have a couple, okay. We'll
Hi
get to you
there.
next.
Yeah, so my name's Torbjorn.
Hello.
I work for Emerald Zebra. We're a recruitment company here in Cyprus. And we also utilize psychometrics for our choosing our candidates and making sure that they're the right fit for certain roles. And at the moment, we're utilizing Assessio's psychometric package because it's quite a new and innovative, user-friendly sort of model. So my question is for you, Ross. Why is it that you have chosen to use Hogan, and is there any specific reasons for that to support?
It's actually not the sole platform that we'd use, but what we found is we went to market and we spoke to not only our clients, but recruitment specialists, not only here in Cyprus, but also internationally. And myself and the team, we've been in business for many, many years. I'm fortunate to work with recruitment consultants who worked as far afield as Spain, Dubai, Greece, the UK. So we actually reached out to our colleagues that we'd worked with over the years in our 15 years and growing stronger at GRS and asked them, what do you find successful in your business? And often the response that they came back was, well, we're using Hogan. We find that that gets the best result. Why is Hogan a successful assessment tool? Well, simply because we can make it so bespoke to our clients. We can ask you, what is the job role? What is the type of person that you're looking to hire? Are we looking at a male profile? Are we looking at a female profile? We can even take it down to individual cultural backgrounds. So for instance, here in Cyprus, if we were assessing a local candidate, then we can actually use Cypriot or Hellenic cultural background to understand that. But similarly, if we were looking at perhaps a Western person, we could again use UK technology in order to again successfully build a profile of that particular candidate. But like I say, it's not the only assessment tool that we'll use. With our clients, we will often sit down with them and say, what is it that you need to know? Tell me what you need, and I'll tell you what we can do for you. So it's the beginning of a story.
Yes, I think we had one more question over there.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your really nice guidelines. I have a question. It's really simple. How you can build the trust between, both ways? I mean, from the employees to employers and the otherwise.
I think it starts from the employer because you give the trust from the moment that you hire a person. So you have to give them, you trust it to give them access to your systems, to your servers. They have all these client data. So you've trusted them by, actually recruiting them. So you need to make a good job of, who you're hiring. So the moment you make that decision, you're passing on the trust. And you need to build on that. You have to give the trust to the person. And then once you give the trust to the person and you've did the right decision at recruitment, then they will reciprocate. But it has to come from you as an employer in the first step.
From my side, also trust is linked to ethics as well. So, until trust is broken, we assume then that there is trust from the outset for both employer and employee, and absolutely agree it's driven by the employer.
My answer is quite simple. Just don't betray your employees, because from the beginning they have this trust, and one day they will come back to you with their questions, with their concerns, with their fears, and if you will tell them, oh, no, I don't have time for this, this is the loss of trust. Just don't betray their trust, which they have from the beginning.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much to our audience. Thank you to our wonderful panelists. That's all for our discussion today. Our next session is just going to begin in just a few minutes, so stick around, grab a cup of coffee, and see you soon.